podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your mid-afternoon catch-up on all things Liverpool FC. And by all things Liverpool FC, I mean absolutely nothing is taking place on this Thursday, July the 25th. We did have some excitement, I suppose, yesterday when a West Ham fan who alleged to have sources went on some podcast or other and said that his information was that Mohammed Kudus would be leaving West Ham this summer, with Liverpool the most likely destination, that Liverpool have long-term interest, which we know that is a fact. Liverpool have long had interest in Mohammed Kudus, dating back to his days at Ajax and even potentially before that, when he was playing for Nordsjælland in Denmark. We decided, seemingly, to sign Cody Gakpo over Mohammed Kudus on the recommendation of former assistant manager Pep and Linders. That is something that has long been speculated. And then Kudus joined West Ham last summer, where he had a very good season. If you look at his goals and assists just from a purely numbers point of view, in his first season in the English League, he put together a really impressive tally. You're looking at 18 goals and 7 assists. Now, it's worth pointing out one of those goals did come in the Eredivisie and one of his assists was in the Eredivisie as well. So in English football and in European football, 17 and 6 in just about 3,600 minutes, which I think is pretty impressive. He played a lot of right wing, a lot of left wing, some as the 10 and a little bit as the number 9. He can also play as an 8. It's not the ideal use of him, but he can play there. If you were playing with wing backs, you could use him as a left wing back as long as you were allowing him, attacking freedom. He is the best dribbler in the Premier League. It's not actually even close. He's powerful, lightning quick, can go either way, possesses an absolute rocket launcher of a left foot, strikes the ball really crisply. He's a good crosser of the ball. He's a good passer of the ball. He would be a really good signing. Without question, he'd be a really good signing. You could bring him in now if you were able to move Diaz on. You could bring in Kudus, play him left wing. And then if Mo were to leave next summer, you could move Kudus to the right. I'm not saying as a Mo replacement. I think you'd then be looking to get your Mo replacement to play on the right-hand side or through the middle. Kudus is more of a Mane replacement than a Mo replacement. That powerful dribbler, great athlete, brilliant 1v1, can get you goals, not a huge volume creator. And I know a lot of people worry about his underlying numbers, but I'm not being funny. If he's generating 17 goals and 6 assists in English football while producing about half the XG per 90 of Anthony Gordon, who had less goals, then Give me the guy that overperforms it in bad teams. Like, he scored 18 goals last season. Anthony Gordon has scored 20 in his entire career. And yet people want to claim Gordon would be the better buy. The season before, admittedly playing for Ajax in the Eredivisie, he also put together 18 and 7. So you're looking at, in just his last two years, 36 goals and 14 assists in bad teams. Like, that was a bad Ajax team under a bad manager. Last season, West Ham were bang average, to be kind to them, under David Moyes. He hasn't played under an elite-level attack-minded coach. Now, Arne Slot may not be an elite-level coach. We don't know yet, but we know he's attack-minded. We know that he gets a lot out of his final third players. And if we were to look at how he used his wingers last season with Feyenoord, the Paxia role would suit Mo. The Minter role would suit Kudus. But the issue is, Paxia role was on the left-hand side. We'd need it on the right-hand side for Mo. But you could easily put your dynamic 1v1 winger on the left, and that's where he could fit really well for us. He beats people for fun. The only player I think that rivals him in the Premier League in terms of ability to just beat players is Pedro Neto, who's got similar dribbling ability, similar type of pace, similar explosiveness, but Kudus hasn't had the same type of injury issues. Kudus had that horrible knee injury that he suffered a few years ago playing against us in 2021. That kept him out for 3 months. Then he came back and he wasn't quite right, so they took him back out of the team to regain his fitness. He had an ankle injury the following year, and then he broke a rib. They're both impact injuries. They don't worry me too much. He's only ever had one muscle injury, and he missed 4 games at the end of 22-23. But I think if he was available and the price was right, and we were moving Diaz on, or Gakpo, whichever of them, one of the left wingers would have to go. I do think Kudus would be a really good get for us. Now, I would have much preferred Michael Olise, who's just immensely special, but I do think Kudus makes a ton of sense for us. That ability to just take people on and beat them for fun is genuinely special. And, you know, we talk about having to replace Mo, but what we're really looking to do is we're looking to replace the Mo, Bobby, Mane front three. That's what we're really looking to replace. That team. We're looking to rebuild and replicate that team. And when you look back at, say, their best season, which, well, I would say the best season that we had with that group was 18-19. Even though we didn't win the league, we were so good. We won the European Cup. We finished a point off top in the league and really should have won the league that year. But we were so dynamic. And you're really looking to replicate that team. With those 3 up front, then your depth forwards were Origi, Shaqiri, and Daniel Sturridge, who at that point was well past his best. Now, that season, Mo, Bobby, and Sadio had 87 goal involvements between them. This past season, Kudus had 25, and Darwin had, I think, 35. I could be wrong about that. I think it was 35, 22 and 13. I think that's right. That's 60. That leaves you needing 60 or 27 goal involvements from whoever the third forward is going to be. coming off the bench that year, like I say, we had Divock, we had Shaqiri, and we had Sturridge. Well, let's say you swap out Divock for Cody Gakpo. That's an upgrade. You swap out Sturridge. That's that version of Sturridge, not 13-14 Sturridge, but that version of Sturridge for Jota. That's an upgrade. And Shaqiri for Harvey. Well, that's a better trio in reserve than we had that year. So you're going to get more from your squad. Henderson and Ginny were the two midfielders that played with Fab. You're going to get more in terms of the attack from Dom and Alexis. You'll still have Trent. Now, you would lose Robbo and his assists, but you've got a lot more creativity and a lot more goals in the team and off the bench now than we did then. So you can afford to lose Robbo's assist total because you're going to get more elsewhere. You'll get more from Dom. You'll get more from Alexis. You get more from Harvey off the bench and Cody off the bench. And you get more from, say, Kudus more than Mane, who only had 2 assists that year. So you can make up the Robbo assists in the aggregate, even if you're swapping him out for, let's just say, Piero Hincapié, who might only get you 3 or 4 assists in a season, as opposed to the 12, 13, 14 Robbo might have gotten you. So you can not only replicate the attacking numbers of 18, 19, you can better them. The big question is, can you come close to replicating what we were defensively? That's the big question. Virgil is still the best centre-back in the world, but he's not that Virgil. However, Ibu at his best is better than Joe Gomez or Joel Matip by a considerable margin. So the pairing, if you can keep Ibu on the pitch, which you can do hopefully by not having him play right back and right centre-back together, if you can keep Ibu on the pitch, you should come out with about the same level of centre-back pairing. The drop-off in Virgil is mitigated by the upgrade in Ibu over Joel or Joe. You do have to get Trent back to a similar level defensively as he was then. That's just a matter of effort. You're improving the left-back spot defensively. Robbo was a good defender, don't get me wrong, but Hincapié is a better defender than Robbo ever was. Much better 1v1, better cover defender, better sweeping defender. He's a pure defender, whereas Robbo was a winger who was masquerading as a fullback, but did a very good job defensively. So your defence might even out. Obviously, the Fabinho piece is what you need to replace. And I think if you bring in Varela and Hincapié to replace Fab and Robbo, I think defensively you're about the same. Now, what you're losing is the Ginny factor. You don't have anyone who's as good defensively as Ginny. Alexis is very good, but not as good as Ginny because he doesn't have his athleticism. But Dom's a better defensive player than Henderson was. So I think you'd be marginally worse off defensively, but you could be better in attack collectively. With Kudus, whichever third forward you're looking to bring in needs to give you 27 goal involvements. And that's with Kudus not kicking on, not scaling up. That's just replicating his numbers from West Ham. That's with Darwin replicating his numbers from last year. If Darwin becomes even an average finisher, he's going to be 30 goals a season. That would drop what you need from that third forward to 19, which is going to be quite easy to replace. And again, you're going to get more off the bench. So people are in this doom and gloom type of mindset where, oh, we're never going to be any good again. Let me remind you that Brendan Rodgers almost won the league. Just let me remind you of that. That wasn't a great league, but the league isn't great now either. This City team are not nearly as good as that team we went toe-to-toe with. This Arsenal team would get wiped off the face of the earth by either of those City or Liverpool teams, from City 17 to 19, Liverpool 18 to 20. We would absolutely wipe the floor with this Arsenal team. So we don't need to get back to being that good, but if we could get back to being close to that good, we could dominate this league for a few years. And I know people, look, I understand Klopp is a magnificent manager. Absolutely top tier. But he wasn't for the last 2 seasons. He didn't overachieve last season, regardless of what people might want to claim. He didn't at all. Third was the floor for our team. We finished in third. He underachieved in the Europa League, but he did win a cup, so it balances out. But last season was about par for what he had available to him. The season before, he underachieved. Now, you can say in 21-22 he overachieved. Fair, but he underachieved in 2021. So, 2 of the last 4 years were underachieving years. 1 was about par, and 1 was him overachieving. We don't think Arne Slot could overachieve in 1 out of 4 seasons and potentially win a league title. That's out of the realms of possibility. It's bizarre, the mindset people have. They want to be so right that it was all Klopp and not that, and he was doing it in spite of the owners. Like, it's so disrespectful to the players. It's incredibly disrespectful to the players. If you're naming an all-time Premier League team, Alisson, Trent, Virgil and Mo are all in that team. Alisson is the best goalkeeper the league has seen. Trent's the best right back. Virgil's the best centre-back. And Mo's the best right winger. And it's not debatable with any of them. You could make, I could see people say, oh, Trent can't defend because they're morons. But there's no debate to be made against any of the 4 of them. There is no other single team in a 4 to 5 year stretch that had 4 of the best 11 players in Premier League history. There just isn't. Like, this City team have won 4 league titles in a row and a Champions League, a treble, the whole shebang. The only one you can even make a case for is KDB. Literally the only one. He's the only one you can make a case for. And I don't think he gets in. Because to put him in, you've got to leave out Gerrard. Because Keane and Vieira are it. Gerrard is it. But the spot that you'd be looking at for KTP is Gerrard's spot, as that more attacking midfielder. And he's not getting in over Gerrard. United won a treble. I'd have Keane, Stam and Irwin from that team. That's 3. That team won 3 titles in a row. Arsenal went unbeaten. I would have had Sol Campbell prior to Virgil. I've got Vieira and I've got Henry. 2. Some people will argue for Ashley Cole. I'm taking Dennis Irwin. But if you want Ashley Cole, you can be wrong if you want. But the max you're getting is 3 if you're getting Cole. Because Campbell doesn't get in over Stam or over Virgil. So, Jurgen, as well as, and he did brilliantly, like, don't get me wrong, he did incredibly well for the first 4 years. But the idea that he overachieved at Liverpool and that it was all down to his genius. Look at the players he had. 4 of the best players in their positions in Premier League history. He also had a world-class defensive midfielder and a world-class left winger. That's 6 undeniably world-class players. He had the 3rd best left-back in Premier League history in Andy Robertson. He had Jenny and Bobby, who are both brilliant. The ultimate team players. I don't care who you are. You cannot argue that that team should have won more than 1 league title and 1 Champions League. You can certainly lay blame at the owners that they didn't, because the squad wasn't fleshed out enough. But the idea that it's a miracle that that team won 1 league title and 1 European Cup is absolute garbage. That is one of the most incredible teams ever put together in English football. And if anything, 1 league title is underachieving. Now, the fact that they won a Champions League does mitigate that, but there's just no way you can argue it was overachieving. And yes, we can all say, oh, well, if City hadn't been around, we would have won 3 or 4. And that's true. That is absolutely true. And here's the kicker and the point of this. City aren't going to be around forever. Pep is not going to be there for a whole lot longer. And there may come a new dawn where Manchester City are a long-distant memory. There may come a day where you look in the record books and it reads Premier League champions, 11-12, forfeited, 13-14, forfeited, 17-18, forfeited, 16-17, they would know, Chelsea went that year, 18-19, forfeited, 2021, forfeited, 21-22, forfeited, 23-24, 22-23, forfeited, 23-24, forfeited. Those titles may all be gone. They may be gone. And if we look at the rest of the managers in the league, let's take a long look at them. Who are you honestly saying, with confidence, with real chest to it, who are you honestly saying is definitely going to be a better manager than Arne Slot over the next 5 years? Mikel Arteta? Maybe. He hasn't won anything. All he's proven thus far is that he's a checkbook manager. He knows how to bottle things. And he plays a back 6. Emery? He's a good manager. He's not an elite manager. Iraola? Potentially. Thomas Frank? Doesn't seem likely. Fabian Herzlinger? Maybe. What do you know about him? Not much. Same as me. Enzo Maresca? Maybe. Oliver Glasner? Potentially. Sean Dyche? No. Marco Silva? No. Kieran McKenna? Potentially. He's young, but he's had great success with Ipswich so far. If he does go on to be a better manager than it won't be at Ipswich. Steve Cooper? No. Pep will be gone. Ten Hag? No. Howe? No. Nuno? No. Russell Martin? I doubt it. Ange? Maybe. But Ange is 58. He's not a young manager. Lopetegui? No. Gary O'Neill? No. There's a handful there you can look at. Arteta, Iraola, Herzlinger, Maresca, Glasner, McKenna, and Ange. But there's none you can say definitively will be better than him. Not one. So how do you know he's not going to overachieve? Like, I can only imagine how devastated these people would be if we won the league in the next 2 years. I can only imagine. It would infuriate, because their entire life seems to revolve around disparaging the owners. And I've said plenty of times, there's loads of things we can hit the owners for. Loads of things. But they always pick and choose the wrong battles. And they just look like a gang of lads that should be walking around wearing tinfoil hats. As I said yesterday, I had one idiot tell me that the only reason we bid for Caicedo was because people were being mean about John Henry on Twitter. Like, this notion that John Henry even knows what's going on Twitter. Like, do they think he hires someone full-time to just sit there and relentlessly search his name? John, there's a fella here, FSG out 47835, and he said that you got Linda a new set of boobs and a new yacht for yourself, and that you don't care about Liverpool Football Club. That all you're interested in is money. And then there's another fella here who's called Klopp Scrovo, and he says you only care about finishing top 4. And then I've got this other fella who's tweeting, this is what Boston Red Sox fans are saying about FSG right now. And he's retweeting Green Monster Gobshite 16, who says FSG have ruined the Red Sox. We were better off without them. What do you mean, how many fans does he have? Who, Green Monster Gobshite? He's got 11 followers here on social media. And no, there's no interactions with it. There's a few likes, but they're all from Liverpool fans, all of whom have hashtag FSG out in their bios, and they all appear to wear tinfoil hats and soil their own underpants on a regular basis. No, I wouldn't suggest you need to worry about it, John. No, I wouldn't say you need to worry about him. He doesn't. As I look at it, he actually lives in Iceland, so he may well just be a troll. John Henry doesn't give a shit what any of us say on Twitter. But yet these people want to exist in this weird vortex where their whole identity... Can you just imagine what they're like in real life? Do you reckon do they go down the pub and just sit there ranting and raving about the owners? Or is this just something they do in their quiet, private time, secret to their own families and everything? Like, I love the notion of some of them sitting down at dinner and, like, rather than saying an old prayer, you know, rather than having an old pray before you might eat with your family, as would be the way in a good Catholic home. I do not run a good Catholic home. I just, run a normal home. But, growing up in Ireland in the 80s and 90s, you would have said the old grace before meals. And I know the Yanks are big into their praying before meals and all that kind of stuff. And if you do, then fair play. But imagine rather than doing that, what you did was you sat down and you lectured your wife and children or your husband and children for 8 to 10 minutes on why FSG are dreadful. Because that's your whole identity. Like, what will these people do on the day that FSG sell the club? Which will happen eventually. You can only imagine most of them will be long gone off Twitter and then they'll all re-emerge and be like, I told you they'd sell someday. The pressure finally got to them. It'll be nothing to do with the $5 billion they'll get for the club. It'll be because some fella tweeted while sitting on the jacks that FSG needed to go. Oh, good God. It would tire the patience of you. Right. In an exclusive interview with This Is Anfield, Liverpool FC Chief Executive Billy Hogan has discussed Arne Slot's arrival, FSG's new structure, and plans to purchase for further clubs and more. Now, I'm not going to spoil this one. This is really good. This is a really good sit down. They touch on a bunch of points, including the stadium and how, for now anyway, there are no plans for expansion, in large part because they've run into a lot of difficulties in trying to do it. But, hopefully at some point, maybe in 10 years. But he says really at this point, there's no plans to continue expansion, but that's at this point. But as he says, we will look at it as we continue to, to run the club. But yeah, read that. It's really good. Congrats to This Is Anfield. It's excellent. Liverpool journalist money is available for transfers, lack of signings explained. It cites the James Pearce article on The Athletic, and there's a line in that I take enormous umbrage with, which is that Liverpool do not have any big gaps to fill, it's horseshit. It's horseshit in the same way that when that same journalist tweeted out in the summer of 2022 that Liverpool had no glaring gaps to fill and would be bang in the mix for all the honours, he was talking out of his arse as he's talking in this. But in truth, if you read James's work, he does just seem to copy and paste the same garbage, article after article after article, which suggests he's getting absolutely no information from the club. And it is notable that all of the big Liverpool exclusives that the Athletic have had over the last, well, let's say the last 6-7 months anyway, since Edwards kind of started to come back into the fore, have not been to James Pearce. They've been to David Ornstein. And Ornstein has had most of the Liverpool news for the last number of years anyway. Left back is now close to rejoining old club with Liverpool teammate. Luke Chambers is set to go to Wigan on loan after this pre-season tour. There's also a rumour going around that Jayden Danns is going to go to Plymouth on loan. Rooney's a dreadful manager, but really was an excellent footballer. And if it's a thing that he gets some good one-to-one work in with Wayne Rooney, that could be very beneficial to him. There's a couple of decent players in that Plymouth team, so I could see him working quite well as a 9 in that team. They've got some goal-scoring wide players. I think the one to keep an eye on there is Morgan Whittaker, who will play off the wing, and last season was just outrageously good for them, with 19 goals in 40 league games. So he's someone that Dan's could benefit from playing with as well. He won't be at Plymouth for much longer. I'd imagine next season's probably the last season he'll be there. But moving on. Heitinga arrives and 4 more things noticed. The new assistant has arrived. Arne been a hands-on coach, getting involved in the training drills. It's very warm in Pittsburgh where the Reds are training. Mo Salah looks ridiculously ripped. Ridiculously ripped. There's a lot of physicality to the training, which seems quite good. Ruben Peters putting the players through their paces. And they're doing a lot of quick reaction reflex training as well, which looks quite interesting. And to be fair, I watched the inside training video, and you can only glean so much from it, but players did look to be having a lot of fun. They really did look to be enjoying themselves. Let's see. Oh, the Real Sociedad president has come out and said that there's no truth in the Kubo stuff, so that just turned out to be nonsense that the Japanese media had made up. Let's see. Liverpool star wants to leave as 2 Bundesliga clubs declare their interest. We'll have a look at that. Former Liverpool star rages as the Olympic owner descends into the biggest. If you didn't see the Argentina-Morocco game, yes, just go and read it up. It's mental what took place. Absolutely mental what took place. Liverpool captain Van Dijk calls for more Alexander-Arnold consistency and reveals hidden talents. That's all we have there. Not a lot on Liverpool.com today, or on Anfield Watch, rather. Liverpool.com have a piece about Trent's bromance with Jude Bellingham, where they appear to be on holiday together. Transfer News Live, Alexander-Arnold, Cole, Dean Hughes and Price, and Pedro Neto. There has been some Pedro Neto rumours. The injuries worry me, but he is so good. I love him as a left winger. Him as a left winger with a defensive left back behind, just terrorising any and all right backs in the league, would be magnificent. Liverpool fans can't hide excitement after seeing early slot goals the first time. Tell you one thing, some of the passing in the intricacies is really, really good. Fans told to wait another 2 years to see the best of Darwin Núñez. For some reason, there's an article on the price of food at a restaurant that Jude and Trent went to. Like, bizarre. Arsenal-Liverpool boost as Nico Williams warned against making Barcelona transfer. It's not a boost in any way. Just because he's been warned against something doesn't mean anything's going to happen. So Florian Plettenberg, who is quite spoofy, has said that Sepp Vandenberg still wants to leave, and that he is of the belief that Liverpool have hindered his development. And I would agree. I think it's unquestionable that the previous regime did hurt his development by never giving him an opportunity. He's now claiming that both Stuttgart and Hoffenheim are interested. Stuttgart are also in for Huijsen, so it might be a thing that sets their backup plan. Hoffenheim, him and Ozan Kabak as a pairing could be interesting. If we're not going to buy someone like Huijsen, then I think I'd rather just keep him, to be honest. Let's go to AnfieldIndex.com and get ourselves wrapped up for today. John Barnes names 2 huge decisions Arne Slot must make at Liverpool. It's a piece about Vítězslav Jaros, a piece about the players that departed in 2023 and where they are now, a piece about Kubo, Liverpool ranked in top 10 in Sustainability Award. That'll lead to comments like, when's the parade? And podcast-wise, there's a new Scouted to come out, and there's something else coming as well. Dave Davis has something in the pipe works. I can't remember what it is. And Simon Brundish is joining Trev on the Anfield Index podcast on Friday night, I believe. So there you go. That's everything for today. Take care of yourselves and keep those underpants dry. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.